Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of A Playmaker's View. I'm your host, Jamie Burdish. Hope you all are doing well out there, having a great start to the new year. And today's episode is going to be all about the MLB Lockout. Unfortunately, on December 2nd of 2021, the MLB went into a lockout, which obviously is still happening today. So it's been a little bit over a month. There's no telling when this lockout is going to end, which is very unfortunate. And probably could cost a few games in the future, which we will talk about in this episode. But I really just wanted to sit down and talk about my thoughts about the lockout itself, the outcomes that I think it will have, but also how I think things will turn out at the end as well. So as far as free agent signings, because there are a lot of free agents left, a lot of stars out there, and then also talk about the free agent signings that happened beforehand, because there was some exciting signings and a lot of stuff to talk about. So, as always, feel free to voice your opinion on this topic, whether it is about the free agent signings, where you want your favorite player to go or favorite team to have. People like Carlos Correa, big shortstop name, and there's many others which we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, please feel free to share your thoughts as always. And let's get things started. All right, so first off, as I mentioned, the MLB is currently in a lockout. What this means basically is that the players and owners did not agree on some terms, and there is a lot that goes into it, which I don't really want to take too much time on that because I did want to get into my thoughts surrounding it. But I could do another episode if you guys are interested to go dive deep into what those negotiations actually are, which I think would be really interesting, and also talk about the different sides of it as well, because there's a lot that goes into it, and that's a business side of things. People don't realize that baseball, really professional sports as a whole, there is a lot that goes into it. It's not just the players playing the game, which is what we see. It's what we enjoy, and that's I talked about that and what makes sports special. It's a lot of entertainment that makes a lot of joy in our lives. It creates a lot of joy in our life. But there is a lot that goes into it, and the players want some recognition. They want to get paid for what they're doing because it's not easy. That is their job. So enough of that. But basically, this lockout means that until the players and the owners agree on terms, they will not be playing. They will not be doing anything. No one can be signed. No one can do anything until some decisions are made. So if that happens tomorrow, if that happens a month from now, we don't know. Hopefully it'll happen before. Honestly, I don't think it's going to happen before the time that spring training usually is, but it could happen in a month and a half, 2 months. Like I said, there's really no telling, and that's the tough part. One thing to think about too is that there's players. Now, they're not going to be sitting down on their couches, but they're not getting interaction with their team. They're not getting a chance to, talk with these people who they usually do in the offseason and as well as spring training. And not to mention there's minor league players out there fighting for a chance to play in the big leagues. And if they don't have that chance, if there's no spring training, they miss out on that. And that's really very unfortunate, and it really sucks. Now, there are two different things that really stood out to me that have been talked about through this lockout, things that they're discussing. One being the NL having a DH, which is something that has been talked about for a very long time, something that I honestly, as of right now, I stand with, but that has been after a lot of thinking, and the reason I say that is because I think it can provide a lot more opportunities to keep people healthy, and like as far as pitchers go, but also allowing an opportunity for teams to get an extra bat in their lineup. I think about someone like Schwarber. If he goes to an NL team, he could be a great asset if they have a DH in the NL. For instance, like the Cardinals, and I talk about the Cardinals a lot on this podcast because I am a fan. But really, any team that needs that extra bat can benefit from that new rule. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of strategic things on the other side of things if there is no DH, as far as the small ball play, which I absolutely love, and I'm all for that. But that's not to say that a DH can't bunt and advance people. Now, don't get me wrong, if it's someone who has a big bat, you want them to hit, but it's still a possibility, right? The second big topic of discussion is the expanded MLB playoff. Now, there is a lot that goes into it. I'm for it. I really am. I want to see more competitive play. I want to see more baseball in general, more sports. We all love watching more sports, but you also have to think about the injuries that could occur if players are playing more and outdoing it. Because you have 162 season. If you're playing 20, 30 more games in a playoff, that's a lot of games. That is a lot of stress on a pitcher's arm, on someone's just physical ability to do something. So they are professional athletes, but we got to give them some credit and also give them a chance to take a break every once in a while, right? So there's two sides of it. Yes, I want to see a lot more baseball. That would be awesome. But I also don't want to see players get hurt because they have to force themselves just to win a championship to, overdo it. And I think about someone like Max Scherzer, who, got dead arm in the playoffs. He wanted to win a championship, and even that was the normal, playoff setting. So there is a lot that goes into that as well. But my opinion is if you're going to expand it, it might be like a 1-game playoff or like a 2-game playoff. I wouldn't do like a 5 or 7-game series. Now, the next thing I would like to talk about is the free agent signings that happened before and that could possibly happen after. There were some huge names that went out to different teams, different places, even got extensions throughout the extent of the offseason that we had, even though it was pretty short. But people like Max Scherzer, he's getting a big payday. He's going to the Mets. I don't think anyone would have expected that to happen. I thought he was re-signing with the Dodgers, but money talks. Money really does talk, and he's got DeGrom there with him. I don't know how well they will do. I mean, they have an okay team, in my opinion. I don't think they're World Series bound, but good for Max. He's getting paid, St. Louis guy. So that'll be interesting to see. Robbie Ray was another name thrown around by a lot of teams. A great arm. He had a fantastic season last year, but the Mariners ultimately picked him up. So that was a pretty good signing for them. They're looking really good. They were up there making a name for themselves last year. So good for them to get that out there. Marcus Simeon, another big name. He went to the Rangers. Someone who might go to the Rangers as well, Trevor Story, who I'll talk about in just a second. But those are some really big names that went there. Trying to think, looking at this list right here, but Kevin Gausman's at the Blue Jays, Sandy Alcantara extension with the Marlins, some really big names. I can't forget Stroman to the Cubs, which I won't get into that too much. That hurt really bad. But just some really great names. So looking into the future, there's really no telling where some other big names are going to end up. You got Carlos Correa, you got Chris Bryant, Trevor Story, Freddie Freeman. I mean, Freddie Freeman is still a free agent right now. That's crazy to think about. You would think he would be going full in on the Atlanta Braves. That's where he was technically born and raised as an MLB baseball player. But no, that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of interesting players still out there. Trevor Story, there's talks about him either going to the Cardinals, hopefully, but also going back to the Rockies. I personally don't think that'd be the best move for him. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. Why not move on somewhere and compete for a title? And Carlos Correa is someone who is big on the money. And the question is who's going to give it to him. But my biggest thing, and we can do a separate episode on who I think is going to go where, but my biggest thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that there's still players out there. And that hurts the MLB in a big way because having this standstill just hurts the game in general. Overall, this lockout hurts the image of baseball because it shows that the owners and the players are not on the same page, which is not a good thing. And there's again, I keep saying this, but there really is no telling where things will be in a month from now, 2 months, 3 months. Will we be playing baseball on schedule? Honestly, probably not. But when we do resume, what is it going to look like? That is essentially the biggest question here. What is the MLB going to look like in 3, 6, 9, 12 months? Are there going to be, people on an actual baseball field playing baseball? Will there be different rules? different expansions to the playoffs? Will there be players in different uniforms? All great questions that we won't know until it happens. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So again, please feel free to reach out, drop a comment below, and just voice your opinion. Let me know what you think about all this. There's a lot of craziness going on, a lot of different opinions. But let me know. And also I want to hear about some of your favorite players, whether or not they landed in the places you wanted them to go. For instance, Marcus Stroman did not go to the Cardinals, and that was kind of hard for me. But you know what? He's getting a good contract. He's going to do well, and hopefully I'll get a chance to see him at Busch Stadium. But a lot of exciting things to come, hopefully, when things remain in the MLB. And fingers crossed they get this thing figured out within at least a month or so. We will see. But with that being said, please take care, everybody. It's always great getting on here and talking. But if you have any questions, any comments, concerns, please let me know. And we'll see you guys very soon with another episode.